This is, I don't know, vlog number 3, somewhere like that. I wanted to give you guys a quick update. It's been maybe about a week since the last update, and I want to kind of at least do them weekly rather than daily. It's just a decent pace, I think. It's enough time for me to actually get some stuff done and to have actually something meaningful to report. So that's where I'm at. It's about a week out. There's quite a few things to discuss. I've got a little kind of checklist here. I'm going to try and keep it brief though. I've got some great feedback from several people. So thanks to Gislam, Madison, a few other people ping me messages, Andy as well. So I'm going to try and keep this brief, maybe somewhere around 10 minutes. Still trying to provide a bit of value, but I've also worked out that it makes more sense to have a quick update in one stream of videos and then potentially have like the toolkits or the things that I'm talking about doing in another video, so you guys can kind of, if you're interested, just actually go to that and learn how to do the specific thing I'm talking about, or at least see the reference point for the package, toolkit, spreadsheet, what have you. So the things I want to talk about, just having a quick look here. I'll quickly run through what I've been up to in the last week or so. Something important dawned on me as well, so I'll probably be discussing that a little bit later on. And then to talk a little bit about, I've chosen a market which I've been thinking about for some months actually, and then B, I've started to go through my validation checklist, which those of you that follow me on Twitter will have seen. Essentially, I was responding to Mark's tweet, and several people asked for that checklist, so I published the checklist, and then I also done quite a detailed video of why each one of those tasks is in that, so I'll discuss that in a second. And yeah, obviously, I think that's probably enough to talk about, although I might have some more points that I'll elaborate on. Let's dig in there. So just as a kind of weekly roundup of what I was up to, I've been thinking about like just how risky this situation could be, so I might need to think about hedging the risk a little bit, because I don't know how long it's going to take to build a business. I don't know if I've spotted a good opportunity just yet, and I don't know how long it'll take to explore that. So it dawned on me this week that, oh shit, like I need to kind of be a bit more risk averse, kind of make sure that I've got a couple bases covered. So potentially just kind of keeping contract roles at bay, like seeing what's out there, doing something interesting, and then managing the time between the two. It's something I've been thinking about, which led to actually going to an event by COOhort, which is an organization for ops people. So it stands for COOhort. So basically it's a meetup for COOs and people that work in ops. And they joined up with COO Stories. So they had a really, really cool event where they had some quite senior ops people on the panel answering questions about ops experience, and like just reminded me how much I love ops, running operations of businesses and stuff. So met some interesting people there, and that kind of dovetails into what I was thinking about with one of the products I was interested in working on. So I'll mention that or discuss that a little bit later on. But in line with like where my mind's been at, I've been thinking about, okay, maybe I should take some contract roles or just have them available if needed. But then also at the same time, I've been trying to keep my head in the right lane. So I've been diving into Indie Hackers podcast, listened to Pete's podcast today, this week. Really cool from Pete, no CS degree, really love his stuff. It was a really entertaining podcast with Cortland, so I listened to that. And also I've been just going through 4-hour work week, just kind of getting my mind right, getting my mindset right, and just kind of making sure I'm staying on tracks for a few fundamental ideas. So that was good. That's just where my mind's been at. Chosen market wise, I've been interested for some time in not necessarily the no code community, but tools and systems that people can use as they build online businesses. So while some of this stuff will kind of veer into no code, it's more just seeing what's out there for people who build businesses online. I'm really interested in kind of content creators who run Instagram accounts and then kind of maybe get sponsorship or maybe sell information products or consulting. I've been interested in that space for a very long time, and I think what I want to do is narrow down on that market, see if there's somewhere in maybe the remote working meets influencers and people building businesses online. So predominantly people who are trying to build a business online or have online as a heavy element of that, and trying to work out if I can build a tool or something that would make it that much easier for them to do. So that's the kind of market I want to go for. I've got a little write up where I've defined it a bit more, but I'm still feeling it out. I haven't fully defined it. I haven't fully spotted personas that I want to specifically target. So I'm going to be building that out in the next couple of weeks. I've got some vague ideas. There's some Instagram accounts I've been following for some time, some YouTubers I've been following for some time, and I've been looking at their funnels. So like, if you subscribe to them, where do they want you to go? What do they want you to do? What tools are they using to manage that? Equally, I spent this weekend at Weekend Club run by Charlie, which I absolutely love. It's a really cool experience. Essentially, Weekend Club is once every couple of weeks, a group of guys meet up and just kind of work on their projects throughout the day. Charlie's organised the space and food, and you kind of just turn up, you say what you want to work on, and stand up in the morning, and then at the end of the day do a summary. I'll do a little bit of link to that below because I think some of you might find it interesting. But yeah, so in line with that, I think there's a breakdown of what these different people, whether it's people in No Code Club, even Charlie himself, Weekend Club, even Charlie himself's using like a lot of these platforms. Gislan's building something interesting in the space, and it's a community that me and Gislan have been talking about for more than a year now. So that's kind of the market where I want to look at, and I'll come back to that in more detail with actual personas in the coming weeks as I kind of narrow that down as individuals. In line with that, I've started validating an idea, going through my checklist, and the idea is one of probably about 4 or 5 that I'm thinking about right now. But coming back to that point of going to the ops meetup, and going to Charlie's Weekend Club, and just the most recent contract I had, I feel like there's a great opportunity for some kind of solution that helps people onboard people and automates that process. So maybe it's an onboarding course that you put into this platform, or maybe it's a series of checklists and policies and procedures that if you're onboarding a new client or you're onboarding a new team member or training up team members, you can send them to this platform, and then all the training materials will be there. So something like a knowledge base meets online training meets an intranet kind of thing. I've got to kind of sketch it out and narrow down the idea a bit more, but I've built something similar to this in the past, and while I was at the operations meetup, I ran the idea by a few people and they seemed to really like it. So I came home, got out my validation checklist, and just started going through that to make sure it's the right type of project for me to kind of explore for multiple reasons, whether it be there's market interest or if it's in line with the kind of portfolio of businesses I want to build. So I've gone through that. That was a really good experience because it looks like there's something there. But again, I want to narrow down on my personas and the market and just tidy up some of those ideas before I commit to this specific thing. But also there's another like 4 or 5 products that I'm thinking about building. So I want to kind of use the validation checklist to go through each of those and work out what's probably the most optimal thing to build for various reasons, be it maybe what do I feel like could be more profitable, what do I feel like would add the most value, and what allows for a certain amount of automation in building the business. So that's good. I've also been arranging coffees over the next kind of couple of weeks to just feel out who's working where, who's doing what, and to see if I can start spotting opportunities with that. I think it's always good to reach out to your network and work with people we've got relationships with. So I'm definitely exploring to see if there's any ideas there. So it's a lot of exploration, and then networking, like I've mentioned, and then one interesting point that came out this week. Someone reached out to me asking for a bit of direction in terms of their interest in building an online business. So they had no idea that I was kind of like vlogging, and I had no idea that I'd been starting to write up on my site, which if you go to my site now, you'll now see, so mrgriller.com, you'll now see that there's like a kind of, not necessarily a checklist, but like I've started to build out the skeleton of the framework, and I'm quite happy with where it's at now. So I'm going to start filling that out with content, and obviously the vlog's going to be part of that. And then the write-ups around the different tools and stuff that I'll talk about going forwards will be there. So it'll be a kind of good little hub. So it was actually quite cool to know that someone was already thinking of me in that way and wanted to reach out to me for stuff that I'm already going to be creating and sharing. So they just happened to come at the perfect time. So that was really, really cool. And that is essentially is like the roundup for the week. Not as much actual business building as I'd hoped. There's been a lot of distractions, but I'm hoping to start narrowing down on defining the market a lot tighter, getting my personas somewhere near drafted. I've started to document the ecosystem a little bit, which I'll discuss later on. And then obviously the kind of next thing I want to work on, not obviously, but I haven't really been coding for a very long time. So I want to kind of brush up some skills there. Been talking to a couple of people about languages and stuff, but I haven't actually coded something for some time. So I'm going to dive into Rails and just kind of play about with it, get a bit familiar again, look at some old apps and do that for in the next week. Going forwards as well for this week, looking at the notes of some stuff, I'm going to try and really narrow down on validating. I think that's something that really needs to be done early on. It's not necessarily about being 100% it's sure that this is a perfect business, but I don't want to kind of waste too much time overthinking different ideas. I want to make sure that I'm picking an idea that's good enough and then hammering forward with that. So I'm going to be doing that. I'll be kind of writing up a little description on that. Validation maybe, I'm undecided, but I'll at least do that internally, and that will be what I hope to do before the next video, in line with kind of working on coding and stuff. I've got no idea how long this is, so I want to wrap this up, and I've also got a meeting in about 5 to 10 minutes. So I'll quickly close this out. But yeah, if you've got any questions, the videos will be a lot tidier going forwards. But feel free to ping me comments, feedback and everything. Really, really appreciate everyone that jumped in my DMs and said, look, hey, do this, do that, try this. So I'm going to be doing that. And yeah, not really much else to say other than thanks for watching. Comment below if you think you've got some interesting feedback or ideas. Check out my links below if you want to see that validation checklist. I'll put a link to the video that explains everything and where you can download that. So if you want to validate your idea, you can kind of just use that framework and adapt it to whatever makes the most sense for you. And yeah, like follow me on Instagram, Twitter, subscribe below if you want to kind of keep up to date with this. And I look forward to kind of sharing more with you as I go further on this journey. All right, thanks for your time.